It's Mike Matthews, the host of the longest-running self-produced daily podcast on planet Earth that's done by a guy named Mike at Café Anyway in Podcastro Valley in the land of Ameritopica. It is Mike's Daily Podcast, FFF episode 3033, and yes, I'm really close to Oakland. Oakland's got some weird stuff. It's always had some funky stuff. Keep Oakland weird. It just stays weird on its own, and there's some problems with it. One of them being the Oakland city attorney had to file a public nuisance lawsuit against meat distribution company after years of code violations. It was a company called Supreme Meats, Inc., and they owned a couple of places. It alleged that Supreme Meats had operated its businesses in a way that harms the entire neighborhood and seeked a court injunction to stop Supreme's constant loud noise, dangerous blocking of the right-of-way, and other unlawful activities. The company begins operations as early as 3:30 in the morning and allows refrigerated semi-trucks to idle their engines throughout the night. There was once just down the street, actually this happened, for some reason the street I live in Podcastro Valley gets work done on, they dig up the street to do something with, I think there's like a main sewer type pipe type thing going on under the road. So they got to dig up the road and do something with this massive underground thing. I don't know. There's probably an alligator that's the size of a small airplane living down there, but it is always they're doing construction. And sometimes, one time specifically, I'm near the Pacific, so specifically, this huge truck that had a what do you call it? One of those tractors, something that drills holes in the ground, but it's a big industrial-sized Caterpillar / John Deere type thing that can dig right through a street and then scoop up everything and move all the dirt off to the side. It's really amazing. This massive truck with one of these big bulldozer type things sitting on the back of it sat there and was just making all this noise at midnight during the week. I couldn't believe it. So I can see what they're doing during the day and why this would upset people that they're doing. I can see that what they're doing is upsetting people with what they're doing. It causes vibrations that shakes the neighbors' homes, causes neighbors to lose sleep on a daily basis. And during the day, their activities include operating forklifts, loading, unloading pallets, that kind of thing, opening and closing a heavy gate. But I guess what really upsets people is when the employees yell at each other. Do you have ever? This is also one of the things in my neighborhood is a lot of tree work gets done. We used to have these huge eucalyptus trees nearby, but the problem with those trees is they grow really tall and then their root system is really shallow. And like a couple of years ago, 2022, 2023, we would get these strong winds and a bunch of rain and the soil would get all wet. And so these things would blow over and it got on the news. I don't know if it got on the national news, but definitely the local news. A tree blew over, crashed into a house. Thankfully, nobody got killed. Somebody got really badly injured and had to spend months and months and months in therapy. But yeah, physical therapy. This is something that I hear is the people working on the trees to cut them down, and they're always yelling and shouting at each other. And you're trying to have a nice calm moment in your house, and somebody's screaming outside. So Oakland is trying to change things, and they're trying to change this. So we'll see if that's. Oh, also the public is unable to walk safely on the sidewalks or bike and drive on the roads surrounding this big meat company, and they're forced to walk in the roadway. Oh, that is something as well in my neighborhood. There are some people that decide, hey, I'm not going to pull all the way up into my driveway. I'm going to park halfway in my driveway, but then also halfway in. Actually, I'm going to cover my entire sidewalk that's in front of my house. And you know, if you're doing that, you should be then okay with people just walking over your vehicle, deciding, hey, okay, I'm going to just I'm going to bring some stairs. I'll put stairs on either side of this truck. I'll walk up and onto it and over it. That shouldn't be a problem. I understand some people's driveways aren't that big, but then park in the street. And there's simple answers to all these questions. Okay, we'll see what happens with all these things that are the nuisances that people are trying to fight in this world. You know what? I don't think there's any nuisances here at Café Anyway. So let me open the door for you. We'll go inside. It's peaceful. Hopefully no one's going to be shouting at each other. Not intentionally anyway. Here we go. Café Anyway. Welcome to Café Anyway.
It's Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's FFF episode 3033, and Mike Matthews. Welcome to Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Somewhere in PodCastro Valley, the last place on earth and land of Rootabega. And there's some places that are getting a little crazy in the country with the weather and extreme weather events and that kind of thing. And hence, my song has ended. Because it's a kind of a serious thing. But we're going to sing Mike's
Daily Podcast.
And I certainly keep an eye on my friends there in Huntsville, Alabama, in Texas, and other places around this country that gets the crazy weather.
Yeah!
So far, we've been pretty lucky here in this part of California in PodCastro Valley, but we, a couple of years ago, it was a downpour day after day after day. What do they call them? The things, the reservoirs. No, not the reservoirs. The water things that come at us over those. I can't find my pen. The late great Basil the boxer would never have stolen my pen, but my cat, Rocky the cat, likes to just hide it all over the place. Here we go. Okay. It's a cat thing. They love to do that. They like to keep themselves busy, and that's what they're doing. They're doing that. And that's what's up in the sky is those atmospheric rivers is what it is. And so what I hope is wherever you are is safe weather-wise. But thank you for listening to the podcast that's called Mike's Daily Podcast. Well, yes, St. Patrick's Day is a thing. Maybe you do the corned beef and cabbage and the potatoes, or maybe you're not that Irish and you don't do that, or you don't feel like eating something that's quote-unquote Irish. I'm going to forego the red meat this year. I got lots of cabbage. Cabbage is so healthy for you.
And here's today's podcast picture.
I just like to make a nice salad with it. The podcast pictures of the beautiful moon. We've been having some beautiful moons lately. This was the full moon. This is the night after the moon that we had the big lunar eclipse, and we totally missed it because it was cloudy here in PodCastro Valley. But it was beautiful the next night. So I got a picture of that. See it at mikesdailypodcast.com. That's where you can go because I pay for it, and you see cool pictures like of the late great Basil the boxer and other cool things at mikesdailypodcast.com. But the last big holiday, Valentine's Day, interesting thing about this you may have missed, that 77% of people said that they'd rather put their money toward a major financial goal, such as a home down payment, than spend it on gifts. And then a full third said they'd rather get nothing for Valentine's Day and have their partner save money instead. Aw. What, they don't want to spend money on Nikes? Nike is teaming up with Kim Kardashian's shapewear brand Skims to try to reach more women. Nike Skims will include a new collection of apparel, footwear, and accessories that will debut soon with a global.
This show is clean.
It is. It is very so. There you go. You got that. You're not going to hear a foul word unless you think a foul word is global, because I'm about to say the word global. Nike's going to do a global rollout of the Skims Nike Skims next year. Trump is planning, we'll see, he plans things, do they actually come to fruition, to eliminate income taxes on Social Security benefits. That would, experts say, help high-income households. But it would also... yes, that's good. But it would increase the federal debt, which is a big thing. That seems to be his big mission, is to bring down the federal debt, or that's what Elon's mission is. And yes, so credit card debt, however, has hit a record $1.21 trillion. It's shot up above trillion to $1.21 trillion. Americans now owe a record amount of money on their credit cards. Credit card balances.
Mike is on it, man.
Go with no man.
Thank you.
We love it, Mike.
Thank you very much. That's very nice, kind to hear that words. And by the way, you can hear me on the radio on cameradio.org on the web, and they also have a transmitter that they're going to be transmitting at 99.1 FM in the Camarillo area. So we'll have to call it Camera Radio, PodCamera Radio is what we'll call it there in the wonderful place of Camarillo, where I knew a lot of people growing up. I still got a lot of friends that live there that I went to high school with, or they've moved to Newbury Park or over to Oxnard or whatever.
This is Mike's Podcast Picnic.
And let's have a podcast picnic in Oxnard, shall we? And have some delicious strawberries. Well, it's not quite in season yet, is it? But oh, I would eat so many of those things because they have the big strawberry festival and fields of strawberries. And we would go running because I was with the cross country. And we would go running, and we'd be running through the strawberry fields forever. Hey, wait. I was just watching a documentary about the Beatles and about how when that song came out and they put it...
I got through that. I got into it.
They got into it. They put out a really weird music video, way ahead of music videos and music video television. Back in the 60s, they put out the video to that, or the film, is this very elaborate, artsy, weird thing that I'm sure inspired many bands, rock bands, music videos after that. But it is a weird one. But Strawberry Fields Fair, they wanted to do something different. They wanted to be artistic. You know, the whole story of the Beatles, going from pop act to artistic pop act. And, you know, the influences that John Lennon, Paul McCartney.
You are a man. Sometimes you wear stretchy pants.
Not Nacho Libre, though. Was not in. Now, it's interesting. So it would appear that Jack Black, as we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in PodCastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Maritopica. He, with this Topica here, he seems to like the music, right? He did the thing with the Tenacious D. I saw that movie. Odd music movie. Hard Day's Night, though, that was a weird one for at the time when that came out.
Anyway,
that broke a lot of Café Anyway. That broke a lot of ground when that came out, because they were just being themselves, but being really funny. Tenacious D, a little more extreme, over the top, weird in another way. But there is a movie that Jack Black did called High Fidelity that I so much enjoyed when it came out. Saw it in the theaters. Upon rewatching it years later,
like they got an area where you can get specialty burgers. They got an area where you can get chicken. They got an area where you can get all this food, and you've never seen anything like it in your life.
Like Café Anyway, it's amazing. No, but watching this movie years later, I thought, wow, this has not aged well. There are just some views that, well, for one thing, it takes place in a record store, and those are gone, pretty much. Except a few places have them, and yes, young people like to buy vinyl, but there is this one scene where Jack Black and John Cusack are listening to some tape that they got, a demo tape from some kid, his little rock band, and they're going, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. This is so amazing. Oh, this is the best band. I've never heard such a band. And then John Cusack's character ends up investing in the band and all that. Upon listening to that music,
people get stuck on stupid. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That band sounded awful. I don't know what John Cusack and Jack Black's ears were horrible. They had no ear for good stuff. I thought, what the heck? This is not. I don't know. Now, the soundtrack to High Fidelity is fantastic. I have it. It's got a lot of old bands. It's got bands I never heard of. It's got some great songs. You can listen to it. It had, what was her name? Sherry Nichols, something like that. A British artist, played the piano. She has a great song on there. Oh, anyway, Café Anyway. The point is that when you are a man, sometimes you wear stretchy pants. No, that Café Anyway.
Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
Yes, well, what I would like to say is when we would jog through the fields, the strawberry fields forever of Oxnard, we would occasionally get a little hungry and maybe munch on one of the strawberries that were there. Now I think they got these big fences that keep people out, keep the poachers out. But as a young teenager in the 80s, we may have done that from time to time, but they were so delicious. Hey, back to credit card debt. So the balances for credit cards are now 7.3% higher than they were a year ago, just a year ago. Credit card delinquency rates remained elevated. Now it looks like of the balances transitioning to delinquency over the last year, it looks like it's about 7.18% of those balances are going delinquent. Borrowers are having some difficulty repaying. Stubborn inflation has shrunk our financial margin for error with slim to about none. Since the pandemic, households largely spent down their excess savings. Consumer spending continues to remain strong, though, despite high borrowing costs. But credit card rates have topped 20%.
You will travel into the incredible universe.
The incredible interest rate universe. String of interest rate hikes have lifted the average credit card rate to more than 20%. It is a near all-time high. You are paying so much money on that credit card when you are not paying it off. But hey, you get points. Sometimes you get points. The other thing people are spending too much money on is that they're doing the doom spending these days because of all the worry with the tariffs and the stock market and going up and down and our president and all that. People worry. So they spend money on things they like to make them feel better. Maybe a flying saucer. But they're also spending money on sports betting. 7 years ago, only Nevada allowed wagering on sporting events. The Supreme Court in 2018 struck down a ban on sports gambling and the floodgates opened. Sports wagering skyrocketed from, check this out, from $4.9 billion in 2017. And then just 6 years later, it went from $4.9 billion to $121.1 billion. Yikes. And it's even higher. Magnified by quite a bit. Most of those bets were on mobile apps or other online sites. Searches for gambling help. Am I addicted to gambling? That search.
It's like a Walmart-sized convenience store and gas pumps.
Oh.
Wow.
There's probably 150 gas pumps.
Whoa.
That's right.
They're monstrous.
50 gas pumps.
They're monstrous.
Bigger than
You go in.
Costco.
They're massive. They're world famous.
You know, Café Anyway is world famous. Well, I guess we could be if the world is listening. But yes, the thing is that we're just with the debt going crazy. Sports wagering skyrocketing to $121.1 billion 2 years ago. Most of those bets were on mobile apps and other online sites. Asking questions like, am I addicted to gambling? Doing those searches online increased 22% in 2022, then got to 25% in 2023. And then through the first 6 months of last year, it was up to 31%. Now, the thing and I'm not proud about this, but in the world of talk radio, sports talk is huge. Sports talk podcasts are huge. I got a friend that worked for me, actually, that had done a sports podcast. And he started working for a news station, a news radio station in the Bay Area. And they've got him now doing sports breaks, reports. And he's only been there maybe 2 years. Well, it took him 2 years, so I guess it took a while. So, yes, if you want to become something in the upper echelon of media, it still takes a while. You can't just expect it to happen overnight. But sports talk is often talking about betting, sports betting. So it continues to be perpetuated. And sports venues for professional football, basketball, baseball, and hockey routinely display ads for popular betting sites. So be aware that it is big in the country, and just want to bring it to your attention and magnify it for you. The credit card debt and the sports betting, both bad. Okay. But I got that from Rob Black. I produce his podcast. He's heard on AM 1220 KDOW weekday mornings and on Cron TV Monday through Thursday in the 9 o'clock hour. Look who's here. Hello, Michael Masters, Madame Rootabega. Always that was very interesting. I like strawberries too. Ooh. Do you like strawberry parfait? Yes. Do you like strawberry milk? Yes. Do you like strawberry ice cream? No. Oh, that's right. You're lactose intolerant. Let's not talk about that. Look who else is here. Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant. And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that? Mike, you finally found that pen that your cat Rocky stole, did? Yeah, that was in the form of a question. Do you know that? Yes, I did. I was remarkable. There it is. I'm putting it on the video if you want to see it at Mike'sDailyPodcast.com.
MTV News. You hear it first.
All right, so, well, that's not what this is. Mike TV, I guess, and a little bit of that can be seen at my website, Mike'sDailyPodcast.com, if you want to see the video there. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com, and you can call in and talk about anything that we covered today. Here's the phone number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the main frame and hear from A Frame. Thank you for listening to the show today. It's been a blast having you, and now I'm sounding a little bit mono, so I'm going to go up with my voice like this and say, talk to you later.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.